Picture yourself as the ocean's most feared predator. Apex of the food chain. Ruler of the deep blue. Sounds absolutely mint, doesn't it? Yeah, well, hold that thought, because what I am about to tell you will completely flip your understanding of what it means to be a great white shark. Forget everything you've seen in films. Forget the terrifying music and the dramatic fin cutting through the water. The reality, it's a horror show, from start to finish, and it begins before you're even born, when you have to literally murder your own brothers and sisters just to see daylight. Still think being a shark is cool? Let's dive in, shall we? Right? So your life kicks off in the absolute worst way imaginable. You're floating around in your mom's womb, developing like any normal embryo would, except there's nothing normal about this situation. This isn't a safe, nurturing environment where you're gently growing and preparing for the outside world. This is a bloodbath, a proper fight to the death, because to survive, you need to eat your siblings. I'm not joking. Before you've even seen the ocean, before you've taken your first gulp of seawater, you're already munching on your brothers and sisters. The biggest embryos in the womb devour the smaller ones, plus any unfertilized eggs floating about. Scientists have this fancy term for intrauterine cannibalism, but let's call it what it really is. Sibling murder in the womb. This is your very first lesson in shark existence. Kill or be killed. Even when you're no bigger than a goldfish, you're stuck in there for nearly 2 years. 2 whole years sharing space with embryos that would happily eat you if they got the chance. By the time you're ready to emerge, you're already 3 to 5 feet long and weigh roughly the same as a bowling ball. Now, you'd think after all that time cooking in the oven, your mom might hang about to show you the ropes. Yeah. Nope. The second you slide out into the open ocean, she's done a runner. Gone vanished, no parenting, no protection, no welcome to the world. Love. Just you, alone in this massive blue wilderness, with every survival instinct screaming that literally everything around you wants to kill you. Cheers, Mom. Your first proper challenge isn't hunting for food, it's making sure you don't become food. You're big enough to frighten off most fish, true, but you're still small enough to be dinner for larger sharks, including your own species. Adult gray whites. Look at juvenile sharks, like we look at chicken nuggets, tasty snacks. Nothing more. Your own dad might fancy you for his tea if he spots you. Family reunions aren't really a thing in shark culture, for obvious reasons. Now, you've been born with all the right equipment for killing. Your teeth are like serrated kitchen knives, perfectly engineered for ripping flesh. But here's the catch. Having the gear doesn't mean you know how to use it properly. That takes practice. You spend your first few months having a go at smaller prey, learning when to strike, working out how to weaponize your bulk. Every time you miss, you go hungry. And going hungry means getting weak. And getting weak means you become someone else's meal. The ocean doesn't care that you're supposed to be an apex predator. You're only as good as your last successful hunt. But let's talk about something even more exhausting. You don't have a swim bladder like regular fish. Know what that means? You have to keep swimming constantly or you'll sink straight to the bottom like a rock. Stop moving and you'll literally plummet to the ocean floor. Your liver is absolutely massive, stuffed with oil to help with buoyancy. But it's far from perfect. You're basically a wanky submarine with dodgy flotation. And here is the real kicker Yuko. You can just settle on the seafloor and have a kip like some other sharks can. You need to keep water flowing over your gills to breathe, which means you're sentenced to a lifetime of non-stop motion. No naps, no rest, no cheeky Sunday lions. You're a prisoner in your own body, forced to swim every single second until the day you die. Imagine never being able to stop moving, not even for a minute. It's absolutely knackering. Just thinking about it. Your metabolism is taking the mick as well. You need absolutely ridiculous amounts of food to power your enormous body. But the ocean isn't exactly Deliveroo, is it? You might hunt for days without catching anything worthwhile. When you do finally make a kill, you have to gorge yourself enough to last until your next successful hunt, which could be weeks away. It's either feast or famine, and famine comes around far more often than feast. You're constantly one bad hunting streak away from proper starvation. Here's another brilliant problem every other marine animal treats you like. You've got the plague. Seals scatter the moment they sense you. Fish bolt in terror. Even massive whales give you a wide berth. You're so terrifying that your mere presence empties entire stretches of ocean. Sounds intimidating, right? Until you realize it makes hunting exponentially harder. Your prey has spent millions of years evolving sophisticated warning systems specifically designed to avoid you. They can sense your electrical signature from hundreds of meters away, feel the vibrations your massive body makes slicing through the water. You're like a celebrity trying to go incognito in a small village. Everyone knows you're there, and everyone's legging it in the opposite direction. The loneliness is absolutely crushing. You're naturally a solitary creature, but that doesn't make it any less brutal. You patrol enormous territories completely alone, sometimes traveling thousands of miles without bumping into another member of your species. When you do encounter other great whites, it's usually a territorial dispute or competition for food. Not exactly a friendly catch-up over coffee. There's no shark social club where you can pop in for a chat and a laugh. You're alone. Always. Your size makes you a massive target for the one predator you genuinely can't escape: humans. Fishermen see you as the ultimate trophy, the beast that'll cement their reputation. They want your jaws mounted on their wall, your teeth flogged as souvenirs to tourists who reckon owning a bit of you makes them hard. Sport fishing boats come after you with industrial-strength equipment. Hooks the size of dinner plates, dangling bloody bait. You're not just prey to them. You're a bragging right, a photo op, proof they've conquered the ocean's top predator. Never mind that you're just trying to survive. But here's where it gets properly twisted. You need humans to survive because the entire ocean ecosystem depends on balance, and they're poisoning everything you eat. The fish you hunt are contaminated with mercury, microplastics, and chemicals that build up in your body like ticking time bombs. Your liver, that massive organ keeping you afloat, becomes a toxic waste dump for every pollutant in the ocean. The bigger you grow, the more poison accumulates, slowly rotting you from the inside out. You're essentially eating yourself to death, one contaminated meal at a time. Climate change is turning your world upside down as well. Ocean temperatures are rising, completely disrupting the delicate marine ecosystems you depend on. Your prey migrates to cooler waters, leaving you searching barren seas for food that's simply not there anymore. Acidification from carbon dioxide is making the water itself hostile, affecting everything from tiny plankton to enormous whales. You're watching your entire food chain collapse in real time whilst being completely powerless to stop it. Your incredible senses, those evolutionary miracles that should give you every advantage, have become torture devices in the modern ocean. Your ability to detect electrical fields means you can sense electromagnetic pollution from ships, underwater cables, and military sonar. It is like having superhuman hearing in a world where someone is constantly running a jackhammer next to your head. The noise pollution is so intense it scrambles your navigation systems, disrupts your hunting patterns, and drives you into areas where you absolutely shouldn't be. Speaking of sonar, military testing has turned your ocean into an acoustic nightmare. Navy ships blast sound waves so powerful they can rupture your internal organs from miles away. You flee in absolute panic, diving too deep too quickly, your body unable to handle the rapid pressure changes. Mass strandings aren't accidents or mysteries. They're reanimals so desperate to escape the unbearable noise that they rather die on a beach than endure another second of acoustic torture. Imagine sounds so painful you'd choose suffocation over staying in the water. That's what we're doing to them. Your reproductive cycle is a biological joke. You don't reach sexual maturity until you're somewhere between 12 and 20 years old. That's 2 full decades of surviving every single thing the ocean throws at you before you can even think about having offspring. Most great whites never make it that long. You're playing a game that's rigged from the start, where the house always wins and the odds are stacked impossibly against you. When you finally do reach you reach breeding age, finding a mate becomes yet another nightmare. Great white populations are scattered across vast ocean territories. The chances of bumping into another sexually mature great white during breeding season are astronomically low. You might swim thousands upon thousands of miles, burning precious energy reserves, just to find a potential partner who might not even fancy you. It is like being on a dating app where there are only 5 other users on the entire planet, and they're all in different countries. Even if you manage to successfully mate, the female faces her own version of hell. Pregnancy lasts nearly 2 years, during which she needs to consume absolutely enormous amounts of food to nourish the developing embryos. She becomes a target for every predator in the ocean, slower and more vulnerable whilst carrying the next generation. Many pregnant females either starve or get killed before they can give birth. The survival rate is absolutely abysmal. Your legendary bite force powerful enough to crush a small carcums, with its own set of problems. Those constantly replacing rows of teeth require massive amounts of calcium and energy to maintain. You're essentially growing new weapons every few weeks in a biological arms race that never, ever ends. The metabolic cost is staggering. Yet another drain on your already overtaxed system. Territory disputes with other great whites turn into brutal, savage warfare. These aren't polite disagreements over fishing spots. They're vicious battles that can last for hours. Scars crisscross your body like a roadmap of violence, each one telling the story of another fight for survival. You're constantly patrolling your boundaries, ready to defend hunting grounds that might not even contain enough food to keep you alive. The ocean's chemistry is changing so rapidly that your ancient instincts, once encoded in your DNA over millions of years, have become death sentences. You follow migration patterns that lead you to areas that no longer exist as your ancestors knew them. You're hardwired for a world that's disappearing, and evolution simply can't keep pace with the speed of human-driven change. So, there you have it. Being born as a great white shark is on some epic oceanic power fantasy where you rule the seas with an iron fin. It's a lifetime sentence of perpetual motion, constant hunger, and soul-crushing isolation in a world that's actively trying to kill you at every turn. From murdering your siblings before you're even born to dodging human fishing gear and eating poison-laced prey, every single day is a desperate battle for survival that most sharks ultimately lose. You're the apex predator that everyone fears, yet you're simultaneously the loneliest, most exhausted creature in the 7 seas, swimming endless miles through increasingly toxic waters, hunting prey that's evolved to outsmart you, avoiding the very species that's systematically destroying your home whilst depending on that same ecosystem to survive. Your reputation as the ocean's ultimate killing machine is really just a death sentence wrapped in razor-sharp teeth and an iconic dorsal fin. Next time someone bangs on about how brilliant it would be to be a shark, remind them of this. Evolution's greatest predator is also nature's greatest prisoner. Those jaws that can crush through bone are attached to a body that can never, ever rest, swimming through an ocean that becomes more hostile with each passing year. King of the seas, more like the ocean's most tragic victim, condemned to swim without stopping until the day the very last great white finally sinks to the bottom and doesn't come back up. If this completely changed how you see great white sharks, if it made you think differently about the creatures we fear and the oceans we're destroying, then do something about it. Smash that like button. Subscribe for more eye-opening content that challenges what you think you know about the natural world. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because these magnificent creatures have survived for millions of years, and it would be an absolute tragedy, proper disgrace if we read the generation that wipes them out through sheer ignorance and indifference. These aren't mindless killing machines. They're complex, extraordinary animals facing an existential crisis caused entirely by us. They deserve better. The ocean deserves better. And honestly, we need to be better. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember the things we fear most are often the things that need our protection the most. Cheers, and see you in the next one.